Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today on Adapt or Lose, Lessons from Ukraine for Business Leaders. We are thrilled to have you with us. Leading this very special session are two experts, Jesper Martel and Per Lager. Jesper Martel is the CEO and co-founder of Comentel, the company behind the award-winning Intelligence Today platform. He's recognized as a global leader in competitive intelligence and is the author of Gardens of Intelligence. Per Lager is a leadership expert and senior advisor specializing in learning under pressure and organizational resilience. He leads crisis leadership research at the Swedish Defense University and supports Nordic organizations through executive education and leadership programs.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone to today's webinar. Today we have a very special topic. We will be talking about how we in competitive and market intelligence can use some of the learnings from the military intelligence field. There are some similarities, some differences, and we will be getting into that. We also have a very special and unique person with us today as well, Per Lager. Welcome.
Thank you, Jesper.
And we were just talking now that we have known each other for, I don't want to say how long,
Nope.
But it's been a while. And I have to honestly say that given the complexity of the questions that we're going to be asking you today, I can think of few people who are as well suited as you to answer these questions.
Thank you so much, Jesper.
So we're happy to have you here. I think your background with it's very broad. You've worked both in business, in market intelligence, you worked in government, you worked in the defense sector. That together with your sort of unique mix of having you both have an academic and pedagogical side. You've been teaching, you've been writing books, but you're also very much on the practical side of things, and you're in the field and you see things with your own eyes. And I think that combination is very unique. So
thank you so much. But I started out as an intelligence analyst. So
yes,
that is like the foundation of everything. And I must say I'm very lucky that I started that way. First being a failed journalist, but then moving into the intelligence analysis field, and it's a fantastic foundation, and I've learned so much that I utilized in almost every role I have.
Perfect. But before we start, I think it would be super interesting to just maybe put some context around this before we get into the actual questions. And maybe have you describe a little bit about what you've been doing in the last year or so. See if I can share a slide here and just a little bit about where you are today.
Absolutely. So for the last little more than 4 years, I've been working focused on Ukraine, more specifically so to work with lessons learned from Ukraine. Lessons learned it's the terminology that used in the military for learning from a situation. It can be an own mission, or it can be in a war in a area of operation, so to say, our area of operation, meaning Europe.
Yeah.
So that has been my responsibility to learn from Ukraine in order to, of course, make sure that our capabilities have the right level, and of course are increasing all of the time, but also learn from Ukraine to see how we can support Ukraine in the best of ways. So my focus has been very much in the beginning on the military side, and also the civil defense side, since Sweden has a total defense system. So it's important to learn from both. But then for the last 2 years, I have had an increasing focus on defense tech, meaning innovation within both military and civil defense. And then it's much about public-private collaboration, meaning the military working with both private companies and startups, and vice versa.
And just out of curiosity, when was the last time that you were actually in the Ukraine?
So I travel there like every second month.
Okay.
Or so. So I just returned from like exactly 1 week ago. And then I was spending most of the time in the eastern part, namely in Kharkiv, in Kharkiv Oblast, meaning this east part of Ukraine, and Kharkiv, beautiful city, even now. Even it's quite damaged from the war, of course, but it's the second largest city in Ukraine, and it used to be the IT hub of Ukraine, with a lot of fantastic technical universities, a lot of IT companies. Like the majority of the Fortune 500 companies have outsourced missions in Kharkiv.
Just showing this slide now, it would be interesting to hear your comments a little bit on, in our world, in market and competitive intelligence, we use some terminology is the same as in military intelligence, but some is very different as well. I realized when I saw this slide. I mean, we both talk about situational awareness. We talk about, signals and decisions is very important in both worlds. But it was interesting when I saw this slide that, we in our world, we typically talk about competitors, but here you use the word enemies. And we talk about, battle cards and how do you battle against your competitor. And here you talk about kill zones and you talk about sensors. We talk about sources. So it's a kind of same, but different.
It is, the process and methodology is very much the same. And as we all know, very much from our methodology that we use in civil intelligence, so to say, originates from the military intelligence. We all know that. But before I just jump into this information-rich picture, I would like to say also that Ukraine, with no doubt, is now the epicenter of innovation and best practices when it comes to command and control system, meaning decision-making support, or portals for decision makers, where they can analyze, visualize information being brought in from the field, so it acts like decision-making input for commanders, and it's just amazing to see how fast Ukraine has developed tools for intelligence, tools for decision making, and in the military context we call it command and control systems or situation awareness systems. And that is a little bit of the things I would like to highlight, what we can learn from Ukraine, from the technical side, but also what we can learn from Ukraine from a methodology side and human side of working with intelligence / decision making.
And what would you say are some of the, in the years that you've been working with this, just some of the key takeaways that you've had? On a general level,
the changes we have seen on the battlefield is just I never heard about that kind of rapid change. If we go back to the 24th of February 2022, when the full-scale invasion started, it was a very traditional war with traditional weapons, traditional decision-making tools, methods, command and control systems, sensors, and stuff like that. And now it's really like science fiction in that sense. So
and do you think that is on both sides or on the Ukraine side more than?
It's a very good question. Unfortunately, it's on both sides. Ukraine is with no doubt leading because they are much smaller. They need to be more innovative in order to stay alive. Yes, but Russia, they are also, of course, they have a lot of smart engineers. They have a lot of people, and they also would like to stay alive. But they are also extra good when it comes to copying and scaling. So it's a little bit different here. So Ukraine normally is very fast to adapt, to innovate. Russia is very fast when it comes to copy and scale. So maybe we should just comment a little bit what we see here. So why is intelligence and decision making so important? Because of the battlefield is just extremely complex. As you see here, you have a combination of old weapon system and of course many new weapon system. And when I talk about new weapon system, I talk about unmanned systems. Unmanned systems underwater, on water, on ground, and in air.
And they have to work together with
they need to be orchestrated or synchronized. But it's not only Ukraine that has a lot of unmanned systems. And thousands of drones flying in the air, on ground, and so forth, together with old weapon system. So does the enemy. So in the aero operation in the battlefield, it is a very complex environment to know, to sort the friends from the foe, and to make decisions. And that's why they have so rapidly developed decision-making tools and input and sensor in order to synchronize and orchestrate this very complex situation.
No, that's fascinating. We will come back to that as well.
Can I also just say one thing?
Sure.
You see to the left-hand side corner there that this OODA loop, or the learning loop, has been just increased when it comes to speed. Meaning from the when you analyze, when you see some changes on the battlefield, you analyze it, you develop methods to counter it, and then to implement it. In the beginning of the war, maybe it was like 3 months. Now it's 24 hours.
That's incredible.
So this battle cycle, this cycle where you learn, analyze, and implement, that is also something that we can learn a lot from, because they have really, made it possible to be so much faster, so much more agile, and that is also, of course, then it bounces back to also changing the way we lead, the way we build a team, and so forth.
Good. Well, thank you for that context, because it is very, there are some similarities, as you said, but there are a lot of differences as well.
It is.
I can relate to some of the things that you said, that even in the business world, we work with, legacy AI systems, and then there are new systems, and we have to make them work. So I can see that there are things that are the same. But what strikes me is how quickly things develop.
Yes.
And there's no time to wait. You just have to act, which, while I think we have in the business world much longer decision times. So
yes,
I think that's
but
one
of
thing
course that
keeps
decision times also in the private business, so to say, becomes shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
And another thing is that you normally, when you're being a leader in this environment in Ukraine, you need to make decision based on very little amount of information. And when you have a little bit more information, maybe you need to take a new decision. And so that is something we can relate to, I think, in the private industry. And we have a lot to learn from that type of manage or being a leader.
Good. Let's jump into the questions, and I'll start with maybe the very most important question, so that we spend most of the time on this. I mean, from what you've seen so far, what do you think are the key things that private business leaders can learn from the UK? You've mentioned a few things already, but what are some of the
one
key
thing
things?
Is speed. How fast you need to be to stay ahead of competition, so to say. That's one thing, and that's one thing. The other thing is that in Ukraine they have been incredible good at find and use various kinds of sources. Everything from some commercial satellites, military satellites, down to UMINT, meaning Russians in Russia that support Ukraine, that with their binocular can watch, and they gather all possible information that you can find, because the environment moves so fast, it's so complex, that you need every grain of information that you can grasp and that you can use for making the analysis. And the variety of sources is just incredible. And there is a lot of creativity in how to use everything from civil road cameras to weather forecast information to different kind of UMINs. For instance, every person in Ukraine have an air alert app in their iPhone or Android, meaning that when there's an air alert, you get the signal. But in the same app, they also have a bot where you can report enemy movement or incoming drones.
And everyone has
it.
All citizens.
So Ukraine has made 30 million Ukrainians. They have become sensors. So they can also bring in input because every information matters. And then, of course, it's quite delicate how you collect this information, how you sort out possible disinformation, and so forth. And that's why they have become so good in using AI when working with information management. So there we have also a lot to learn. Where is AI really bringing value to the decision making, and when it's not so valuable.
Yeah.
So
here is what struck me here, and you see the slide here shows the app, I think. But then it's really that like decentralized. If you take this into the private sectors, like decentralizing intelligence, so all your employees are, as you say, sensors and observers, and trying to find pieces of intelligence.
That's a very good description there, Jesper, because very often, and I've written a book about this, as you know, but very often our intelligence organizations in big companies are quite centralized.
Yeah.
And we have big difficulties to get information from the field, so to say, meaning from the coworkers, sales staff, and stuff like that. In Ukraine, they have really managed to build a intelligence cycle with information flowing in from everyone, from the soldier, and they have made it digital. So they have a tool called Krypova that squad leaders have, that they can work on and send in information, and everything is then gathered in the central situation awareness or intelligence system, like Comintelli, called Delta. So they have really managed to make it very easy, simple to bring in information from the very from the bottom up, and also from the top down. So when you, as a soldier or a squad leader, you provide information, then you also will receive information from a more strategic point of view that you can benefit from. So you build that cycle of information sharing, which is a necessity in this type of context.
Good. So my key takeaway from this is, as you said, the decentralization. I can really relate to that, and getting intelligence out into the field. And we'll come back to how you collect that and what you do with it. The next question I have is, and you mentioned it already, is the situational awareness. So, I mean, once you have this information, and it sounds like it's a lot of information as well.
It is.
What do you do with it, and how do you sort of?
I mean, the real game changer was when the unmanned systems, meaning mostly aerial drones, they are of course equipped with a camera, and they film all of the time. So they managed to build an application that make it possible for all unmanned system with a camera to live stream film data straight into their situation awareness system. So that means that several percentage of all footage and films taking in the world today is taking in Ukraine.
Wow.
Because they have so many drones always filming, taking photos. So that photo is live streamed into the situation awareness system, where it is being analyzed and geotagged, and act as decision-making input for the commander. So the commander can make the right decision on what target to strike or not to strike.
What action to take.
So that has been a real game changer, because it's extremely amount of data. Because it's tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 of drones in the air or on the ground at the same time. And then you need AI to really filter the information and to provide the correct input.
And this image that we see here is something I got from you. It shows sort of all the incoming drones and things that are flying in the air. But also I like the side picture there, where people actually commenting, and as you said, you get live information.
So this is a little bit another side of the same type of situation awareness. So this is a public situation awareness piece of information, or what you should say, that this is a live picture from an ongoing airstrike. So it provides everybody in Ukraine with decision-making input. Should you go down to the shelter? Drones, the missiles, where they are flying, where they are hitting, so you can know, okay, my employees in another town, are they safe? Can they continue their job, or do they need to go to shelter? And on the right hand side, you see a Telegram bot that people are feeding in information, to adjusting it all of the time. So you have one situation awareness system called Delta for the military, and here is a public information for situation awareness for everybody.
Which I think is fascinating.
It is.
It's also, if I take this into the private sector, it's as you've worked to show everyone, all your employees, your dashboards and how the company is going, and so that they can also take decisions. So
Everybody
not keeping it for themselves.
No, exactly like you put it. It's decentralized to the edge.
Yeah.
So
but I like it. It's not just the information collection that is decentralized. They're actually giving some feedback to the.
And this
people.
is co-creation. So it's this what we see here. It's a result of both open source intelligence, but also more military intelligence, what they can share. So it's a combination between different kind of sources, different kind of methods, and it's of course most important is to visualize it, so people understand it, so they can use it. So it's a pedagogic way to this as well.
I like this. This was very clear. Even I understood it.
But it's very useful. I use it all of the time. So when the air alert goes on, like when I was in Kharkiv, the record was 13 air alerts during one day. So it's quite tough. And then you need to, when the alert goes on, you look on your app and see what is coming. Is it only drones or it's ballistic? Then you can take the decision if you should go down to the shelter or continue to work.
And how cool are people, when they see this? Do people run away straightly, or do they, it's just a drone and I'll take my chances? Are people, how are people reacting to this?
After 4 years?
That's
very good. No, but it's totally impossible to go down to the shelter 13 times a day if you're going to do resistance, if you're going to continue to resist.
So they have to take some risk.
They have to take a lot of risk, unfortunately. But then, for instance, in Kharkiv, when the air alert was on, I saw it on my app. Okay, it was not super dangerous, but then it came off again. And then I know it's for real. And then it was ballistic. And when it's a ballistic, meaning really heavy weapons, then of course you see where they are aiming for, if you're lucky, but you have a couple of minutes to act.
But that's also interesting. What you see is you really have to trust this information. If it's false and people start relying on it, then it won't work. So you have to be sure that it's accurate. 95%.
And of course it's not. So you need to. That's why you never only trust one source here. You have like 3, 4, 5 different sources and different visualization that you can use for your decision-making input.
And I like that as well. If taking into our world is that the how you use different sources, not just relying on one. This is my favorite source, and I always read from this newspaper or whatever it is. But that you actually check and to get a complete picture before you make a decision.
And then they also create new sensors to create new data or new information flow. So they are very good in doing this gap analysis. What kind of information do we have? What kind of information do we need to add to the picture to make it good?
Good. So that's my key takeaway from this is the different types of sources that you use, but also that you provide feedback back to the people who are your information sensors as
so they continue to deliver information.
Exactly. So you have to give and take.
Yes, and the decentralization that they push out intelligence, both the input and the output.
And how do you make sure? Oh, sorry, I'm getting carried away. But let's have the next slide. I think is important as well. And we've touched on this as well. But the speed.
Yes.
And you had some examples as well. Is how do you do this quickly? But I was fascinated when you showed this the speed of development in just 4 years. And how they've been forced to do this.
Speed is in all levels here. In the military, we normally talk about tactical, operative, and strategic level. And here we have like an operative strategic level. This is the speed of the development in their defense industry. So you can see here how many air drones manufactured did they have in the beginning of 2022? 7. Now they have 500. But that's not, maybe that's not the most important. The important is that they also have a lot of intelligence, mapping and evaluating every day how every drone performs on the battlefield. So when they do the procurement later, they base that on the actual performance on the actual weapon system. And that it makes also the procurement very transparent. So they know that this type of drone, this model of drone has performed like this. 5% better than the other, and then of course unit will buy that instead of something else, and the government will procure it and everything. So that's important. And then UGVs may be more astonishing, meaning land drones. They have 3 different sizes. It was none manufactured. Now there are 280 different manufacturers of land drones. In Sweden, none still. And then EW stands for electronic warfare. Meaning to jam the enemy's drones or other type of missiles or stuff like that. And then production of missiles. You know, Ukraine was really advanced before 1991 when they part of Soviet Union. It was like the innovation hub. But then they took that away. They really regret that, by the way. Now they are really developing a lot. So they have over 50 manufacturers. So this is just the result of how they use intelligence, but also how they have combined the public-private collaboration in order to create this effect when it comes to defense production.
And what strikes me here is one, they have good intelligence. We need this, and it's fast. But also there's so much action as well. They actually do things. They're not like, because sometimes in the business world, you know, you can see things, this is going to happen, but people are not doing anything about it.
No.
But here they are actually, this is action.
Yes. And the small detail there is that in Ukraine nowadays, they almost never use email. They use Signal and WhatsApp because it's much faster. So when I work with Ukrainians, I mean, to get the fast response in Ukraine is that you get in 1 minute. And a fast response in Western Europe, maybe it's you get it like
24 hours.
Yeah, maybe. So it's very different when it comes to speed. And of course, they do this out of necessity. But it also shows you how fast we can be if we are really, you know, operating in a competitive environment. How fast can we be? And I can say it's quite fun to be fast, to see things happen.
You know, especially the action where you have to. I can imagine. There are positives and negatives, of course, but when you're forced to act, but I can see that even. I mean, in running a business, if you're about to go bankrupt or something, you know, drastic is happening, that's when you act. When you don't have any money or any, then you're forced to do something.
Yes.
It's on a different level with different consequences.
But
in your case, but
you're everywhere. And I think what we will see, and you and I just talked a lot about how many intelligence companies that have started since 2022 in Ukraine, and they are running fast. So that's where also we can learn a lot from intelligence community in Ukraine, not company, and that not only in intelligence in all domains. So, for instance, 2 weeks ago, they had the first unicorn from the defense industry. U-Force, they make unmanned boats. That has been very successful. And then they had the first listing on the stock exchange 1 week ago, the Swarmer, and they did a record-breaking performance there. The stock went up 700%. So
they are becoming like the innovation center almost.
It's really the innovation hub, I would say, in many different areas. So regardless of your industry, learn from Ukraine how that industry has developed there.
And how to be fast. And
and
do action.
Yes.
So I think that's my key takeaway from here is the speed at which things are happening. It's something we can learn from the private sector. But also curious, you mentioned also the role of competitive intelligence and strategy teams, and how I mean the things. And you mentioned that there are intelligence companies in the Ukraine as well. What do you think are some of the things that we can bring from there? Sorry.
I think speed and scale again. So, for instance, background checks. I mean, they do a couple of million of background checks every year. So they have developed methods how you can scale background checks, both for companies and from persons. That's one part of intelligence, even though it's a small part. But then, of course, they have been really good in using AI to digest the data. They have been very good in visualizing the analysis, so it can act as a decision-making input, because you really need to understand it fast, so you can make a decision. And not, it's nice to know. It's very little relevance there. And also, they have also created a lot of new methods. They have been really good in, when I talk to them, for instance, they say that, we went to this NATO course, intelligence NATO course, really, really good. They have like 20 models. 2 of them were really good.
Yeah.
So they have
That's
really, when you put models into this type of context, you really see what kind of intelligence method and
what
models
works and what doesn't
do
work.
deliver. And what is maybe,
yeah.
they say, maybe it works in peacetime.
But I like this image because this is a dashboard that shows and illustrates what is actually happening. So I think this is a good example of something that becomes then very actionable as
This
well.
is really, this is market intelligence 10.0.
Exactly.
So what we see here is a bomber, meaning a big drone that drops bombs, and how it performs on the battlefield. So they have a tool called Mission Control that actually measure the performance of different type of weapon systems. And because how can they do that? Because all hits on the battlefield are filmed. So they can work with battle damage assessment, in real time. So that's why they can count. And they also have a points system called eBally or ePoints. So that means that they get points for what kind of equipment they destroy, enemy equipment they destroy, and then they can get points, and the points they can procure new systems,
which is very cool. Let me show that. I'll jump a little bit ahead there, but I think the main point here is that to be more real time as well, because most of this is in real time.
Sorry, thank you for putting that out. We talk about making data-driven decision. This is data-driven decision for real, not in theory. They do it every day, and they do it because they have to. But we can learn a lot from that. So they are really leading the way how data can drive decisions.
Good. Let's jump forward one question, because I want to come back to because I was so fascinated by that, how you actually get points based on your performance, basically, which is something that is quite common in the private sector, is that you give points or if you do things, but having that translated into the military world is, I'll just jump ahead here. This is the system I think you were referring to.
Yeah. So, and actually you can go back one slide, because in this is the Delta, the situation awareness system, and this with no doubt the most advanced situation awareness system in the world, and it consists of a portal, and it's like 12 to 15 plugins that they can use that provides this situation awareness, visualized visualized. Analyze all the information being collected, visualize into the system, and you can break it down, and of course using a lot of filters. And in this system, then we can go to the next slide.
So sorry, before we go to the next slide, who has access to this? Is it like
this is interesting,
centralized, or is it or how?
So this is very interesting. Thank you for that question. So this is Delta, the situation awareness system Delta, and when I bring delegations from NATO or from the Western Europe down there, they always say, okay, so this is a strategic decision-making system. And then the Ukrainians say, what do you mean? No, this system, and listen up, this system is used by those who need it. It can be a soldier almost, or a squad leader that needs this to get access to this. So it has more than 200,000 daily users. So it's like, of course, it is a strategic system, but it's also used in more tactical environment, operative environment, which is really interesting, because we are so focused in saying, oh no, this is a type of system only top management should use.
Exactly.
And they say, no, everybody that get the value from using it
can have access.
So it's also revolutionizing a little bit. Or at least developing.
But can it be misused in any way?
Yes, but of course they have different levels of access, and it's a very smart way that you need to log in constantly. So if an enemy get hold of a laptop, having it, and so forth. But then also, if the enemy get hold of this, it's not so dangerous, because when they see the information right now. Normally it's almost already old.
Okay, so quickly, because
being changing all of the time. Yes,
very interesting. And then jump to the next slide. Then this is the system where they actually get points. And I like this again because I think one of the challenges with speed, because they have to make decisions so quickly, is that they might make the wrong decisions.
Yes.
Or make bad decisions.
Yes.
How do you avoid that?
First, it's interesting to study different levels of leadership here and different levels of leadership styles. And I mean, Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union to the 1991.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're a little bit older commander, you are most likely trained in St. Petersburg.
Yes.
And you can tell that because they make much slower decisions. They need much more information. It's much more hierarchy. So the younger leadership or old leaders that have, reskilled, it's totally different. So that is very, very interesting to see the different type of leadership. Now I forgot your question.
No, it's the speed thing, and it's just going back to this as well. How do you, when things are going so quickly, how do you make sure that you make the right decisions?
Yes,
and that you, because you have to make quick, and
I think
you might make bad decisions.
I think the on the battlefield you need to make fast decisions and many decisions. So you need to take one decision and then change it a little bit later when you get more information. And when you see, but they also try to use a lot of data in order to create best practices. And what we see here is the top 10 list, I think it's in January or February, about what are the most efficient brigades in Ukraine. Who have been performing the best. And of course, we should think we are talking about war here. So it's this is a little bit like a gamification, but we should not forget about this is war. We are talking about people and we're talking about equipment. But Ukraine has to defend itself. So that's why they have developed it, so we can see what units are the best, and other units can visit those units to learn from those best practices. And also the best units best units get more points, and they can use this point to purchase more weapons or equipment. And here you can see that the 414, the Magdar birds, they have been in top for 1 year. So of course they are the best. They also have the best equipment, so they should be the best. But so this is a very transparent system. And no other armed forces in the world has this transparency. And here we can think about transparency inside a company.
But also just running back to the other question, do you think it's better than for them to take a fast decision than to take the right decision, or is because here we generally in companies we have to take the best decision and it might take a long time. But what's your
it's not only in the military you say that in the long run you're dead. Even a famous economist said that. No, but of course it depends on what level you are. But normally in the military, you need to take fast decisions and take new fast decision again. And we call it mission command, so that you can take a decision at a very low level. The person that has the most accurate situation awareness right now should take the decision. And of course, from a strategic point of view, of course, the leaders higher up take the more strategic decisions. But on the battlefield, the one who's closest to the reality should take the decision. And if you don't take a decision, normally you're dead.
Exactly.
It's very, very tough.
And we're all dead in the long run. So
yes.
Good. I see that time is ticking, and I would like to ask a few questions. I have one or two more. Hopefully there are some questions also from the audience. We might have time for one or two. But I'm very curious, before we let the audience in, we've been talking very much about tactical and of course everything is happening now, but from your perspective, if you were to look a little bit into the future and be a bit more strategic, once the war ends, what's your prediction? What will happen? And and the war might end in 3 months or in 3 years, but what will happen after all of this?
Well, we used to say that the first victory, then peace. So I will say that the competence that the war has created is just extreme. We talk about the speed. We talk about how you can work public-private in a totally new way. we see how you can use technology in a totally new way.
Yeah.
So, for instance, after the war, think about all industries that they can take advantage of unmanned systems that are really cost efficient, like the mining industry, paper and pulp industry, cleaning industry, every industry that can have robots that they can never dream about because they have a lot of fantastic skilled companies that have produced super cost efficient, easy to use robots or drones. That's just one thing.
No, I think, and I see again, I know that we both have to rush after this. So I think we'll close it down. But I think there are probably, I see that there are like 10 questions. I think we will have to revisit this topic again. Perhaps do a follow-up, hopefully when there is victory and peace. Then we can revisit this topic and see what we've learned. And I think my a little key takeaway from this is kind of that, as you said, and I don't know who has said this quote, but there's this quote that necessity is the mother of invention. And I think that seems to be very much the case here in the UK, is that they are forced to do this. And they have no choice, and it just has to be fast, and because the consequences are so big. So
and it needs to be good enough. Not perfect, good enough in order to deliver results.
And then, as you said, then you can switch. I mean, you go in one direction, but then you can change quickly, and if you have to, depending on the intelligence that you get, you have to be very adaptable and flexible. So
and my last words here is that I think all companies should see what they can learn from Ukraine. What they can learn from their industry, how that industry have developed, but of course, more specifically, how can they learn from how to operate with intelligence in Ukraine? What can they learn from the Delta situation awareness system? What can they learn from different plugins in Delta? How they use AI, what methods do work, and so forth. And of course, most importantly, maybe, how can we decentralize intelligence in a very efficient way?
Thank you very much, Per, for coming here live in person in our little studio here.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's been a pleasure. And I wish we could stay longer because I have more questions. I don't know if we have any final words, or if not, then we'll say thank you everyone for attending.